What if the person you love slowly stopped being themselves? Long before memory fades, something even more unsettling can happen. They don't talk the same. They don't act the same. You thought you knew them. Every look, every opinion, every little quirk. But now, something's off. These changes aren't random. They're not just age, but are often misunderstood, brushed off. In this video, you'll discover 9 weird identity changes that could quietly signal dementia is beginning, years before anyone expects it. Number 1. They start mirroring other people's behavior. A year before she was diagnosed with Alzheimer's, Anna, 68, began mimicking others in ways that felt off. She picked up odd catchphrases from her neighbor. She started dressing like her daughter. And once, she told a story at a family dinner, but it wasn't her story. It was something she'd overheard and claimed as her own. At first, her family thought it was harmless or quirky. But when she started confusing the bathtub with the kitchen sink, they knew something was wrong. A clinical study found that damage to the anterior temporal lobe blurs the line between self and others. The person may unconsciously mimic voices, adopt new identities, and lose their internal sense of me. This isn't imitation for fun. It's neurological confusion. The brain starts filling the void of fading identity by borrowing from those around them. By the way, if you want to learn more dementia warning signs like this, feel free to subscribe. I post new ones every day. Number 2, I don't feel like me anymore. That's exactly what Larry, 76, said one morning as he sat on the corner of the bed. His wife assumed he was just tired, but in the months that followed, he stopped playing music, avoided friends, and refused to look in the mirror. I feel like someone else is inside my head, he said. That sentence haunted her. 2 years later, he was finally diagnosed with frontotemporal dementia, and his family blamed themselves for not catching it sooner. A medical review found that identity confusion begins when the brain's self-mapping networks break down. These are the systems that help you define who you are in relation to your past, your values, your emotions. When those connections weaken, people may look normal, but feel like strangers in their own skin. Number 3, their story begins to vanish. Gloria, 70, used to be proud of her life. She raised 3 kids and volunteered in her community for decades. But over time, she stopped talking about any of it. Family photos were stored away. When asked about her childhood, she'd say, "I haven't really done much." That quiet disconnection started about 3 years before she was diagnosed with mixed dementia. Research shows our sense of identity is closely tied to personal memories stored in the brain. When those regions begin to deteriorate, the emotional attachment to our own story fades. It's not just forgetfulness, it's the quiet loss of ownership over a life once lived. Number 4, the family anchor suddenly lets go. Ed, 74, had always been the steady hand, fixing things, hosting holidays, offering advice when it mattered most. But something changed. He no longer stepped in to help. He sat silently while others made decisions. When his grandson asked for help on a project, Ed just shrugged and said, "Ask your mom." That moment stuck with them. And it was 4 years before he was diagnosed with early-stage Alzheimer's. A major study found that as dementia progresses, people may stop seeing themselves in their usual family role. They're not being lazy or withdrawn. Their brain no longer connects the dots between who they are and what they're supposed to do. When someone starts fading from who they used to be, it's not just personality. It could be the brain's early cry for help. Don't wait. Talk to their doctor. Document what you're seeing, and push for a full cognitive evaluation. These subtle identity shifts often appear years before diagnosis, and catching them early gives you the best chance to protect the person you love. Number 5, The spark that made them unique fades. Rita, 72, was the family storyteller. She could turn even a trip to the grocery store into an event. But slowly, that spark disappeared. She stopped sharing stories, then stopped talking much at all. Her friends thought maybe she was feeling down, but over time, she started confusing names and familiar faces. 2.5 years later, she was diagnosed with early Alzheimer's. Scientists found that as dementia progresses, people begin to lose the traits that made them unique. This loss is gradual and quiet. But when the person who always brought life to the room suddenly fades into the background, it's often more than just aging. It's identity slipping away. Number 6. Style, color, and confidence disappear. Angela, 75, had always been vibrant. She wore colorful scarves, bold lipstick, and loved picking outfits that made her feel alive. But over time, that all disappeared. She began dressing in plain clothes, stopped wearing makeup, and didn't even brush her hair some days. When her daughter gave her a bright floral blouse, Angela said, "That's not really me." Over the years, her forgetfulness and confusion grew, and eventually, she was diagnosed with mixed dementia. A 2020 study found that early brain changes can lead people to let go of their usual style and appearance. These shifts often reflect a deeper loss of identity, where even familiar habits start to fade. It's a sign that the emotional link between how someone dresses and who they are has come undone. Number 7. A lifelong passion just gone. Harold, 71, had built furniture for decades. His garage was filled with handcrafted tools, half-finished projects, and sawdust from dreams in progress. Then one day, he simply walked away. "It just doesn't feel right anymore," he said, staring at his workbench. He never picked up the tools again. That was 2.5 years before doctors confirmed his diagnosis of Alzheimer's disease. Research shows that hobbies tied to purpose and creativity, like woodworking, painting, or gardening, are often the first to fade in cognitive decline. It's not about memory loss at first, it's about motivation. When the brain's reward centers weaken, even the most cherished passions start to feel meaningless. Number 8. They fall silent, even when it matters. Jeffrey, 69, was once a firecracker, passionate, opinionated, and full of life. He loved debates, shared his thoughts without hesitation, and took pride in standing firm. But something changed. He stopped speaking up. "Whatever you think" became his most common phrase. His family thought he was just mellowing out. But that shift led to his Alzheimer's diagnosis 2 years later. Experts link this fading of self-expression to deterioration in the medial prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain that helps you reflect on your identity. When that area begins to fail, people may stop asserting opinions, desires, or preferences. It's not apathy. It's neurological silence. Number 9. Long-held beliefs suddenly mean nothing. Sharon, 73, had been devoted to her faith her whole life. Sunday services, prayer groups, and a Bible always on her nightstand. But over time, she stopped going. She tossed her devotionals and told her daughter, "I just don't believe in that anymore." It wasn't anger, it was emptiness, like something had quietly disconnected. Over time, she became increasingly forgetful and confused. 2.5 years later, she was diagnosed with frontotemporal dementia. Neurologists found that early brain changes can disrupt the emotional and moral centers, causing people to lose the values that once guided their lives. This doesn't just affect religion. It can include political, ethical, or cultural beliefs. When a deeply held conviction disappears overnight, it's often a warning sign that something deeper in the brain is unraveling. When someone stops acting like themselves, when their spark, their voice, their essence begins to fade. It's not just personality, it's the brain losing its grip on identity. And when that begins to unravel, memory is never far behind.
And there you have it. What are your thoughts? Next, dive into this video for more essential tips to transform your health and help you thrive. You're going to love it. Thanks for watching Healthy End, and we'll see you there.